Today, President Biden stated that the United States is the strongest economy in the world. But are we really? Today, I want to address what President Biden's big lie is because he continues to push this. He continues to tell the American people that the United States is strong. We're doing well. We're doing better than all of our competitors. But is that actually true? Well, let's talk about it. Because here's what President Biden had to say today. And he said, and I quote, "America is better positioned to lead the world than we have ever been." Really? Are we? Are we in a position to lead the world right now? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But he also went on to say, and I quote, "We have the strongest economy in the world. Our inflation rates are lower than other nations in the world." Okay. Well, let's look at this. Let's look at the charts. Here's what they look like. Look at this. The United States is right here. Here we are, okay? Right here at 8.6%. So do we have lower inflation than the rest of the world? Do we? We're not at the bottom. We're not at the top, right? So let's address this. Let's look at China because China is at the top. China, and this is inflation rates of the G20, okay? China, right here at I think it's like 2 to 3%. We got Saudi Arabia, we got Japan, all pretty close. Switzerland, probably about 3 to 4%. Indonesia, Australia, about 5%. South Korea, about 5.5%. Singapore, about 5.5, 6%. France, same thing, about 6%. France. So what President Biden is telling us is that the United States, we're in the best position we can be in, and that our inflation rates are lower than other nations in the world. But when we look at the charts, when we look at this, that's not what it's saying. Because then you go to South Africa, you go to Italy, let's say 7%, India, 7%, Germany, let's say 7 to 8%, Mexico, 7 to 8%, Canada, 7 to 8%, Euro area, 7 to 8%, United States, about 8.6%, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Spain, Brazil, Russia, Argentina, and Turkey all have higher interest rates than we do here in the United States. That's a problem. And I say this is a problem because if you look at the states that are on that list, some are in Europe, Brazil, obviously not. Brazil has other issues. You look at Russia. Well, Russia obviously has some major issues, right? They've been sanctioned by many countries. Obviously, Russia's going to have high inflation. But then you got Argentina. Okay, again, let's show the map again. Then we got Argentina right here, which is sitting about 60, a little under 61%. Okay, well then you got Turkey. Are we going to compare ourselves to Argentina and Turkey when Turkey is sitting at like 73, 74%? No, absolutely not. So this is my problem. President Biden continues the big lie. The big lie is the United States is doing very well. No, the United States is only doing well if you compare us to Turkey, Argentina, Russia, Brazil, and Spain. I wouldn't even really say there's much of a difference between the United Kingdom, Netherlands, and the United States. We're all right there. And so that's the lie that continues. And it's not just President Biden himself. It's the whole administration. It's many Democrats are pushing the problem over to Russia, saying it's Russia's fault that we are seeing record high inflation. But that's not necessarily true. Russia is contributing to higher inflation, but at the same time, it's not all because of Russia. It's not all because of what's going on in Ukraine. A lot of this has to do with the problems that we had prior to all this. And here's one of the big things. And again, I haven't talked a lot about electric vehicles and trying to go more green. And there's a reason for this, and it's simply because a lot of people are misinformed as to like the reasons why we're seeing all these price increases. Well, here's what I can tell you. The prices of electric vehicles are only going to go up. They're only going to go up. I know Tesla, Elon Musk, companies like NIO, Rivian, all these companies, right? Lucid, they all want to bring their prices down, be more competitive. Here's the problem. When our metals are harder to get, the lithium is harder to get, right? Chips, right? Semiconductors are harder to get when we need hundreds of semiconductors in a single vehicle. It makes it very difficult to produce. That's why we got vehicles just sitting. You look at empty lots across the United States. They're not empty anymore because there's trucks sitting on them because they don't have any chips to go in them, right? You can't drive them yet. A lot of issues. But all these little supply chain issues are going to make it more difficult and more expensive to get electric vehicles. Okay. The biggest driving factor for inflation as of right now is energy costs, right? Gasoline, utility bills are up, rent is going up, food more expensive. But let's just talk about fuel. Let's talk about gas for a second. The Biden administration and Democrats are saying we have to invest more into going green, into electric vehicles, into charging stations. And I get it. I'm a huge supporter of that. As an investor, I love that they are trying to do more for electric vehicles because, well, Tesla is going to really benefit from this. But here's the problem. Electric vehicles are more expensive. That's an issue. Not everybody can afford them. And here's the other problem. This is one of the reasons why we're seeing so much inflation, especially when it comes to gas. Why would the Biden administration push oil executives and these energy companies to produce more oil, right? To refine more, to increase their refining capacity? Why would they put that investment back into their business when the Biden administration is doing everything they can to crush that industry and move everybody over to electric? Does that make sense? Why would an executive, or let's just say, you're an executive for a company, and the president comes to you and says, "Hey, can you do us a favor? Can you invest an additional $1 billion, another $400 million into refining more oil for the American people? Can you do that?" Well, why would we do that when at the same time you're over here talking to these guys saying, you know what? We need to crush those guys. We need to get rid of them. Make sure they're investing and they are moving towards more climate friendly, going green, going electric. Big issues. That's one of the big factors. That's one of the big and really the leading factor as to why we're seeing so much inflation, right? And if you read any of the reports, any articles, any economic statements, you see the exact same thing coming from company after company after company. Executive A says this, Executive B. Every single executive is saying the exact same thing. The supply chain is a major issue. It's been disrupted. It's not going to be fixed anytime soon. But again, President Biden, he says, no, the United States is in the best position possible. We are stronger than we've ever been, and our inflation rates are not what they are of other countries. You're right, they're not. In many countries, they're better. Their inflation is actually under control. Here in the United States, it's not. But that's part of the big lie. And again, I just wanted to fill you in on what's going on because I got a comment just the other day asking about this, asking why so many people say inflation's out of control when really it's not. The Biden administration says it's not. They have it under control, but I can tell you this. If the Federal Reserve and the Biden administration had inflation under control, we would not see the stock market doing what it's doing. We would not see companies laying off employees because they're worried about a recession. We're worried about a recession because if we continue to see high inflation, guess what the Federal Reserve is going to do? They're going to bring the hammer down. They're going to increase rates by more than 75 basis points, and when they do, it's going to impact us all. So that's the big lie. I just wanted to fill you in on what's going on right now. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think inflation is going to come down? Or do you think our economy is the best, or is really in the best position it has ever been? Let me know down in the comment section below.